And this brings me, maybe we can say this to Axis too if he hops on, but we haven't talked about this because I wanted to a few weeks ago, but we just had too many other big topics come in. We saw a Sacrifice affiliated wallet make a move a couple of weeks ago that was essentially just a ratio move. It was just selling off Pulse to buy PulseX, which PulseX, I mean, we know that it's been holding up amazingly against Pulse for quite some time, especially for how many holders there were of it compared to Pulse. And now, basically at that 1-to-2 ratio, or maybe a little worse than that. But we saw a rotation into PulseX to keep it at that 1-to-2, even when it's been up, it's been 1-to-3 at points. It's been up to 1 to almost 4 back whenever it launched, but it really settled into that 1 to 2.5 range or so. And now it's like 1-to-2. What did you think of that move? That there is at least some interested party within this ecosystem that has some resources that would like to see that ratio stay in that 1-to-2 range. I find that pretty interesting. Maybe if he heard it, we can just float that to Axis because he just showed up. So, what up, man? How you doing?
What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yep,
we got you. Yeah,
just got back from a long trip, talking to crypto whales across the 7 seas. So here I am.
Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful. You look like a sea merchant. We got the green blue on you here, so looking good. Yeah, there you go.
I heard you say something about SEC something, and then I took my headphones off for a second. What was the question, or what were you saying?
No, so it wasn't the SEC. No, it was we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. We saw that rotation from a Sacrifice affiliated wallet from PulseChain, sold Pulse for PulseX, basically. So at least we know there's an interested party with a lot of resources that wants to keep.
Are we sure though? Because I thought that somebody else came in and went behind and said that wasn't the SAC wallet that sold Pulse. I could be wrong, but there was mixed information, and this is something that's been going on a lot right now. Maybe that's more important to say is even with like the Pulse Latina rug, people are blaming Gunther right away just because of the use of words. It's like that's getting into pretty risky territory. Like, we don't really know, I'm not defending anybody or like, it's all shitty that it happened, but it's so easy for people to point fingers and put the blame, and like so many bad takes out there. And so I would just, take everything with a grain of salt out there, because there's so much bad chain analysis and just wrong conclusions that come from this stuff. So
yeah, I suppose I could be wrong on that. I thought it was relatively substantiated that it was a SAC wallet. Maybe I am wrong. But either way, so we'll take
let's assume it was. It's good to keep the gas price low, and it's good to pump the deflationary coin. That makes sense to me from a tokenomics perspective. Of course, I don't like seeing any of them get sold by the biggest wallet, so I don't know if that happened. But I know there is substantial proof that in the Hex days that some Hex was sold to buy the Hex diamond. So that did happen. So it's not like they always never sold. But
right.
You know what I mean? It's sort of like this conundrum of as a market maker, like, are you doing the right thing if you buy and hold forever, or are you doing can you actually paint a picture where it's the right thing to sell at certain times too, ethically, right? And I keep coming back to this. Like lately, I've been thinking a lot about like what's ethical, like what is the right way to play this? Because if you pump let's say you pump $100 million into something and you never sold, you're basically like throwing money away when you and then you can't bring that same capital back in later. Somebody else just took it, and chances are a large majority of that just never comes back into the ecosystem. Yeah. So it's an interesting topic. What do you guys think?
Well, and you look at other coins, like, so, RH is always put on a different credential type thing, because when he does something, people don't like it. But when Ripple goes and sells a ton of their tokens to pay for whatever, it's okay, and it's understood, and it's expected. Binance takes their profits from their exchange and they rotate it in. So, I mean, there's all these different things that happen. I know Solana has a lot of VCs that just cash out all the time. There's just all kind of things. And how can you say one's right and one's wrong? I do agree with what you said, where is if you just keep rotating money into a system and never take anything back out to save for later for another bottom, because we all know there's going to be another bottom eventually, what are you left with, and where do you keep getting that fresh capital? Because I don't think we'll continue to have sacrifice after sacrifice after sacrifice. Maybe with a wallet would be the only next sacrifice, but after taking so long to launch the products, how many people are going to be involved in another RH sacrifice? It just makes you wonder.
A lot, because the price will probably be up a shitload by then.
Well,
and then people will be like, hey, that worked out. But no, I don't think that's the right play at all. Of course. I was thinking about like, well, where can you get more funds from? Well, I mean, there's like these protocols on like summer.fi on Ethereum where you can stake or go into LP with some of these stable to stable pairs, or like wrapped staked ETH to ETH, and get like anywhere from 8% on the low end to as high as like 89% APR.
Yeah.
So the higher the APR, the little bit, the more risk. But yeah, those options are out there for a player that big. So I think the capital preservation right now is key. But yeah, it feels bad for the PulseChain right now.